Colonel, Stand Down, by Lena Brown. The morning my life changed forever, I was standing in my mother's kitchen, still in civilian clothes, holding a cup of coffee that had gone cold 20 minutes ago. I heard him before I saw him. Heavy boots on hardwood, the kind of deliberate, pounding footsteps that were meant to announce power. I set my mug down slowly, squared my shoulders out of pure muscle memory, and waited. "You must be the daughter." His voice filled the room like a command issued on a parade ground. Colonel Raymond Holt was a broad man, 6'2", barrel-chested, with a jaw carved from granite and eyes that had probably intimidated 100 young soldiers into submission. He wore his civilian clothes like a uniform, pressed khakis, a tucked polo, a rigid posture that screamed rank even without a single badge on his chest. He looked at me the way men like him always looked at women like me, like I was furniture that had been rearranged without his permission. "Lena," I said simply. "Lena," he repeated my name like he was filing it somewhere unimportant. "Your mother's told me a lot about you." "She's told me about you too, Colonel." Something flickered in his eyes, surprise maybe, that I'd used his title, that I knew it, that I said it without a trace of reverence. My mother, Patricia Brown, was a soft woman with a warm laugh and a terrible habit of falling for men who mistook loudness for strength. She'd been alone for 7 years after my father passed, and I'd been deployed for most of those 7 years. First Iraq, then Afghanistan, then a classified posting I still couldn't discuss at dinner tables. When she'd called me 3 months ago to say she was seeing someone, I'd been relieved. When she said he was military, I'd been cautiously optimistic. When she said his name and rank, I'd done a quick, quiet search through channels I wasn't supposed to have access to anymore. What I found made me book the earliest flight home. "We're having dinner at 6, Holt announced, moving through the kitchen like he owned the square footage. He opened my mother's refrigerator without asking, pulled out a bottle of water, cracked the cap. "Your mother's making pot roast. You'll be joining us." It wasn't an invitation. It was an order. "I'll be joining you," I agreed pleasantly. "I have a few things to take care of first." He turned and looked at me again, longer this time. Measuring. There was something calculating behind those pale eyes, something that had learned, over decades, how to read people and find the soft spots. He wouldn't find one, not in me. "I run a tight household," he said. His voice had dropped half a register. "I want to be straight with you since you're Patricia's daughter and I respect clarity. I make the rules in this home. I'm the man in charge. I've earned that." I looked at him steadily. How interesting. "Your mother said you were in the military." He said it with the faint smile of a man expecting to be impressed by his own generosity. "What branch?" "Army." "Rank?" I smiled. "I'm sure it'll come up." Dinner was a performance. Holt sat at the head of the table my father had built with his own hands, in the chair my father had always occupied. He'd moved it 6 inches to center it better, my mother mentioned quietly while we were in the kitchen. She said it like it was a small thing. I filed it like it was not. He dominated the conversation, stories from his postings, his command decisions, the soldiers he'd shaped, the missions he'd influenced. My mother watched him with shining eyes. I watched him with different eyes entirely. Between the pot roast and the apple pie, he turned to me directly. "So, Lena, your mother says you did 2 tour." "More than 2. "Combat?" "Yes." He nodded with the magnanimous air of someone bestowing approval. "Good, builds character. What was your MOS?" 11 Alpha initially, I said. Then things changed. "Infantry officer." He seemed mildly surprised. Then he settled back into his chair with the comfort of a man recalibrating to a lesser threat. "Well, the Army's changed a lot. I'll say that diplomatically." My mother laughed nervously. I didn't laugh at all. "You know," he said, swirling his water glass, "I respect enlisted service. Every machine needs its parts. But there's a different level of accountability at the command level, a different weight." He paused meaningfully. "A colonel carries things that most soldiers can't comprehend." "I imagine so," I said. You were enlisted." I was not. Another flicker. Officer then, Captain Major. I reached for my napkin. "I have an early morning. I think I'm going to turn in." He didn't like that. The jaw tightened. The eyes went flat and hard in a way I'd seen before in interrogation rooms, in forward operating bases, in the faces of men who expected doors to open before they knocked and were deeply unsettled when they didn't. "I wasn't finished talking," he said quietly. The temperature in the room dropped. My mother's fork clinked against her plate. "Raymond," she started. "Patricia," one word a silencer, she stopped. He looked at me across the table with the full weight of a man who had spent 30 years making people smaller. "I don't know what you're used to, Lena, but in this house, when I'm speaking, I finish. You are a guest here, a grunt by the sound of it. You will show the appropriate respect." The word landed like he'd placed it carefully. Grunt, a diminishment, a category, a box to put me in so he could stop thinking about me as a variable. I set my napkin on the table. I stood up. "Excuse me," I said to my mother, who was pale and still. "I'll be right back." I went to the guest room where I'd left my bag. I didn't rush. I moved the way I'd been trained to move, with intention, without wasted energy. I unzipped the garment bag, hanging on the back of the door. My dress whites. I changed with the efficiency of someone who had dressed under fire, in the dark, in conditions that would have broken most people. Every button fastened, every crease aligned. I checked myself once in the mirror, not out of vanity, but out of discipline. On my right shoulder, 3 silver stars caught the light. Lieutenant General Lena Brown, United States Army, decorated 3 times, 1 silver star, 2 bronze stars with valor, a service record that stretched across 2 decades and 4 continents. I walked back down the hallway. I stepped into the dining room. The effect was immediate. Holt was mid-sentence, something directed at my mother in that low, controlled tone that wasn't quite shouting, but was designed to feel like it. He stopped. His eyes traveled from my face downward, processing the uniform, the ribbons, the rank insignia with the slow, terrible comprehension of a man watching the ground open beneath his feet. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. The silence was enormous. I looked at Holt, Colonel Raymond Holt, who made the rules, who was the man in charge, who had called me a grunt across a dinner table that had once belonged to my father. And I held his gaze with the absolute steadiness of someone who had given orders that shaped the course of battles. "Colonel," I said quietly, "stand down." He didn't speak. He didn't move. He stood frozen in the way I had seen men freeze when the chain of command reversed itself without warning, when the person they had underestimated turned out to outrank them by a margin too large to negotiate. My mother was crying softly, not from sadness, I understood, from relief, from something breaking open that had been pressing against her chest for months. "Lena," her voice was barely a whisper. "It's all right, Mom." I didn't take my eyes off Holt. "Dinner was wonderful, thank you." I looked at the colonel one final time, not with anger, not with triumph, just with the calm, unbothered clarity of a woman who had never needed his approval and had never once asked for it. "I'll see myself out in the morning," I said. "You can keep the chair." I turned and walked down the hallway, and the only sound in the house was my footsteps, steady, deliberate, and entirely unhurried. Some battles, I had learned long ago, were won before the first shot was ever fired. All you had to do was walk into the room,